don't love you. And the funny thing about your girl is she love me too. Whipping with my team.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Backstage with BU. Today on the show we have Clairmont The Second, an up-and-coming artist out of Toronto, Canada. Clairmont, how are we doing today, man?
Not bad. Chilling. Just getting work done. How are you?
Hey, there we go, man. I'm doing great, man. Excited to have you on the show today.
Sure.
To start off, can you tell us how you got your start in music?
I've been doing music since, forever. So, when I was young, around like 5, I started playing drums, started playing in church. After church would be over, I'd get into playing drums and try to figure that out. And, basically my dad sings, my older brother plays piano, plays drums. My older sister also sings. So there was music in the family just the whole time. So it was only a matter of time before I kind of, buckled down and made this a career. I just didn't know when, and I didn't, know it was going to be the way it is, but it is. My brother found a recording of me like freestyling when I was like 6 years old. It was trash, but he found it, and I'm like, oh, say a word. I didn't know that I wanted to rap from super young, but that's kind of just like the startup, just being young, going to church, family, making music. That's definitely how my introduction to music as a whole and playing it. And then in grade 9, I made a song with a couple friends of mine. I was writing joke raps on his like Facebook wall, and then he's like, yo, I'd make a song with you. So then we made a song. I recruited a friend from kindergarten who I actually make music with now, Hezi. But my other friend Jael, we made this track, all 3 of us. It was super trash, but that's when I knew I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this forever, basically. And from that point on, I'm at where I'm at today, just working hard, practicing.
That's awesome. So with growing up with music in the household, who would you say your biggest musical influences are? Because I definitely hear a little bit Kendrick in you.
My biggest musical influences are definitely music genres, as opposed to particular artists. Of course, with that, it comes with artists, the artists that you like, but like jazz, funk, soul, R&B, gospel music, those are like the main things that basically, shape my sound and shape how I approach music. Definitely super big fan of Kendrick, Tyler the Creator, just like those are some more of the recent guys, but it dates all the way back to like artists like Pat Metheny when it comes to jazz, Funkadelic, Prince. There's just so many artists. There's like too many I can't even name right now, but there's just like a lot of stuff that is influence on me. That's why I like to reference the genres more than particular artists, because I kind of take from everywhere. Like I kind of am inspired by so many different things that it's kind of hard to just put it into one thing, and then you got people like Andre 3000 who's like super diverse and didn't really bring a cookie cutter style to rap, then you're genre bending. It's not really just rap anymore. So for me, like when I look at all of my favorite artists, people like Childish Gambino, Kendrick and Tyler, all these guys, they don't stick to one particular thing. There's like this, they're always evolving and trying different things and blending the genre, so then it ends up not just being a genre, it ends up just being making music at the end of the day. You look at people like Prince, Prince has like so many albums, but the styles on them are so different. Funkadelic, although they were funk, they were pushing the boundaries. They were always like trying to be different, sound different, and it just worked, and the songs were just really good. But gospel music, man, like the way they're rehearsed, that inspires me a lot. Like the rehearsal, like they just don't play around, and every time they perform, it's amazing. Every single time they take the time out to practice, and a lot of people these days, they don't take time out to practice. So when you go see the show live, it's not, no one's really seeing live shows right now, but a lot of shows that you see live, like these guys can't keep up with their own music. They don't have the, so although the chord progressions and the musicality of gospel music is so great, one of the things that stands out is the rehearsal, just how they rehearse and how they practice. So all these different things kind of make me who I am.
Right.
Just, music genres.
Yeah, and I can definitely tell you practice what you preach because all your music is constantly evolving. You're incorporating new sounds into your music.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So from what I hear, you direct and edit all of your music videos, which is absolutely insane. I was just watching your music video for G's earlier, and the transitions in that are crazy. With like, I think it might be you on the wall with like speaking on the picture.
Yeah.
Like,
As a baby.
dude, that was absolutely crazy. Are there any music video directors or film directors that you would say you take some inspiration from for yours?
For sure. I would definitely say like Wes Anderson is one of my favorite film directors. Stanley Kubrick, Bong Joon-ho, who else? Nicolas Winding Refn. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Who else? There's a lot. There's a lot of directors out. There's somebody I'm forgetting Sam Esmail, who did Mr. Robot. Big fan of him, and just like different like Korean cinema is a major influence on my more recent work. But I'm inspired a lot by Korean cinema, Korean horror cinema. Oh, I like Ari Aster, who did Midsommar.
Mm-hmm.
That movie's crazy to me. I love that movie. I think it's super gorgeous, but also like very horrifying, psychological horrors as opposed to like jump scares and things like that. So I watch a ton of movies. I watch a ton of shows, and I haven't watched movies lately. I've just been watching anime, but like all of that kind of plays a part in how I direct and how I approach, and over time, just trying to figure out how I could tell a story through the videos as opposed to just kind of put shots together. Like, I don't like to think too hard about it, so sometimes I am putting shots together, but I make sure that if I'm putting a shot together or putting a shot in your face and it lasts for a long amount of time, I just think there's like power in what you put on the screen as opposed to how you put it on the screen.
Of course.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I want to make sure whatever shot I'm framing up or whatnot, whatever I put there has power in it, as opposed to having crazy edits and doing all this editing stuff and blah blah blah. Because when I started getting into like editing videos, I would just like have a bunch of cuts, have a bunch of edits and whatnot. But I found out how to use it more tastefully now. So like when it came to doing G's, I was able to tastefully have my transitions as opposed to just making transitions out the ass and just keep just continuously doing it. But I think just with my favorite directors, I think there's like power in not only how they have their cinematographer set up shots for them, but also what's on the screen, the emotion on the screen, what the dialogue is talking about. You know what I mean? So,
and I can definitely tell with all your transitions, they're like super impactful. Like each one makes you feel like a different type of way, and you're a great storyteller with it too. So that's sick. And you mentioned that you're a big anime fan. I know you're into video games. Do you think that shaped the way that you create your music at all?
100%. Video games is I have to play video games. Video games is a part of me. Like ever since I can remember, I was playing video games. You know what I mean? And video game OSTs, like the soundtracks on some of them are insanity. Bomberman Hero for the 64 is one of my favorite soundtracks in a game, and just like little things, like anything on Nintendo, they weren't playing around with the music. Like people take that for granted, but the music in Nintendo titles are really important. From your earlier Mario Kart games, Super Smash Brothers, and things like that. The Gran Turismo soundtrack from like most of the games are pretty like super jazzy, super funky, and things like that. The music is 50% of the environment, honestly, in those games. It's not just the game itself. I think soundtracks are also important, and like even a title like Bomberman Hero, like majority of that soundtrack is jungle music, or drum and bass, but it's jungle. And I think people kind of look over that. They kind of underrate it. They don't even realize like how legendary of a soundtrack that is. What other titles? In in the skateboarding games, you know, you got like the early 2000s like rock music, like the punk music,
skate.
like it's
fun.
so fire.
Bring it
It's
back.
just perfect.
Yeah.
And then you'll like I was playing like Disney Extreme Skate the other day and getting back into that game, which is a really great game, underrated as well. But
check it out.
like you'll have like these 2000s rock tracks, and then you'll have like the super poppy 2000s pop record, and it just for some reason it just works. It just works, and I just it's just things that video games, man. Like you got your RPG games, you got like Shining Force, Secret of Mana, all these older games. I almost forgot about the Neo Geo soundtracks. Like Neo Geo is like my favorite console of all time, made by SNK. They make Samurai Showdown, and this is like a $600 console that came out in like the 80s. So it was too expensive for just like anybody to purchase. So it wasn't even available to regular consumers. But the music and all these like Metal Slug, Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, what else? There's a bunch of stuff, man. Neo Geo. I'm actually wearing a Neo Geo t-shirt right now. That's the funny part.
There we go.
But yeah, like just like the older games, man. A lot of jazz influence, a lot of funk influence, a lot of soul influence in those. But the jazz elements, man, the fast jazz, swing jazz, all of it, it's crazy. It's nuts.
I didn't realize how much of a video game enthusiast you were until we had this conversation. But it's dope that you draw like inspiration from like outside sources like that, and like influences that you grew up with that have impacted your life and whatnot. So that's super cool. And I noticed in your last album that you just dropped, It's Not How It Sounds, in the first track, Power, you have like a video game intro which like sets the theme for the album, which was like super dope. Like, and if you guys haven't heard that album, it's streaming on all platforms right now. Definitely go check it out. It's one of my favorite albums of the year, I would say.
Appreciate it. Thank
Where would you say the inspiration for that album came from when making that?
Man, it comes from basically where all the inspirations for my products come from, man. Just growing up where I grow up, dealing with the things I have to deal with, as a man, as a black man in my hood, in my area, trying to navigate the world how it is, you know what I mean, and just dealing with family. Like all the music that I make kind of stems from the same place. Sonically, I would say that a lot of the music elements are more bouncy. I try to bring this one a little bit more bouncy, a little bit more heavy, but at the same time very video game-esque. I got a couple of video game sounds in there throughout. So that's where I wanted to approach it sonically, and that's kind of how I'm gonna, continue to, I guess, arrange things. You know what I mean? So, but just I don't know, like. It's Not How It Sounds wasn't even supposed to be the album that came out. That was a last minute thing. I actually have an album in the chamber that's like about 60% finished, like 70% finished. That was supposed to come out before, but I just didn't think the world was ready for that one. So a couple records actually on It's Not How It Sounds I made before my last album came out. Yeah, I think I made like Do You Drive was the last project I put out, and I think a couple records on this album were made around that time. And I basically, It's Not How It Sounds was actually supposed to be like a short EP that came out before the actual album, and then it ended up being like, nah, I gotta add two more songs. I can't just do 3 songs, so it ended up being 5, and I'm like, I gotta add 2 more. Then it ended up being 7. I'm like, let me add 1 more. Then it was 8. Then I performed Gunfinger on a live Instagram show. And then everybody wanted Gunfinger, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna add this to the album too. So it ended up being an album again. And then the name of the album actually wasn't It's Not How It Sounds. It was something else that I can't talk about now because it's still being worked on. But exactly, it was a different cover and a different name. But the album, how it sounded, didn't sound like the original name that I had. And the cover, it didn't sound like the original cover that I had either. Hence, It's Not How It Sounds. Then it ended up changing the name. It was Simple. And then we did like the album cover like a week before, like 2 weeks before. it was super like last minute changes. The name was changed like within a month. The like, and everything going on in the world with, you know, the virus, and then the revolution happening. It just, everything was kind of feeling weird, and it didn't feel how the original title I had. So I made It's Not How It Sounds, and came out the way it did, and you know, I'm happy about it, for real.
For sure. Do you have a due date for that next project, or are you just gonna keep working on it?
I'm just gonna work on it, man.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes, man. Sometimes you just gotta like let people sit with something, you know.
100%,
let them. I'm definitely gonna push It's Not How It Sounds for a good while.
For sure, yeah. You just dropped it a couple weeks ago.
Exactly. So I have stuff to back it up and whatnot. But you know, I'm kind of just working on it, and like I have like fleshed out plans for the next project already. I have songs that like if my album leaked, I would be annoyed, but they sound good enough where I wouldn't be. It's like, alright, well, they leaked. But, you know, I'm the only one that has control of my music, and I have everything on me, so it'll never get leaked. But I don't know when it's going to drop. It'll drop in some time.
Right, for sure. It's a question I had to ask, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
How would you say the Toronto underground scene compares to other big music areas like LA, New York, Houston, Atlanta? How's it different?
I think that it's different in terms of the sound. I think the sound is different on the underground scene, but it's kind of hard to really gauge that now. Like, what is underground anymore? It's weird. It's everything underground is becoming more popular. But at the same time, like, there is an underground scene here that I feel like there's so many artists from Toronto that are just being overlooked and being underrated and not being able to get to that next platform, that next level. And I feel like I'm also in that same boat. I can't seem to budge. I can't seem to pass this like threshold that I'm at. So honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. But in terms of like relating to other areas, I just think other areas are better at, you know, liking whatever the hell they want to like, and there's such strong culture in these different places that we have here, but it's just being slept on by the masses. You know, it's kind of like when you think Toronto, you think of like 3 people or 4 people now, maybe. I mean, I don't need to name them. We know who they are, but it's like there's so many other people that deserve the shine and deserve the love that just continuously it just goes unnoticed. And like, even for me, I would say sometimes it goes unnoticed by, you know, people that you can't even really consider them fans because they're kind of just casual listeners in and out. But like, sometimes it's like the industry, it's the whatever the hell a tastemaker is, it's like the tastemakers, or, you know, people that write on blogs and whatnot. Those people are continuously underrating the lower people because it's like they think that they're doing you a favor almost, but at the end of the day, it's like people only go to your blog because somebody famous might have reposted something you said. There's nothing people aren't sure going to your blog, you know what I mean? So like, that's why I appreciate a lot of the smaller companies, a lot of smaller blogs, or select few, you know, like you guys, you know what I mean, wanting to interview me. But like, that means a lot, you know what I mean? Because these bigger guys won't do it. They like really like, and it's never just about liking the music. It's never just about like, oh, I mess with this, no matter how famous or how not famous this person is. I'm gonna write about it because I like it. Who cares? I don't need their exclusivity. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need them to send me things early. I like this, so I'm just gonna write about it. Because when a famous person does it, they're on that. They're rushing to get the clicks, and you know, I understand it's a business, but I guess it's just I gotta run the business, my way. You know what I mean? And you guys do them, so that's why I kind of ended up being this anti everything. There's no point. It's a game. It's a boys club. You know what I mean?
Right. Damn, you're spitting straight facts, man. That's crazy. I love that you stick to like you as yourself and don't get mixed up in all that BS. Man. So, damn, that was fire. That's the whole segment right there was crazy. If you could have any artist, dead or alive, feature on your next album, who would it be and why? I know, that's a tough one, man.
so many.
If you want, you could just list a couple. 'Cause that's
I can list Alive, Andre 3000, I think. Dead, probably Prince. I still find it weird that Prince is dead. I still find that like odd. I feel like Prince was one of those guys that you feel like couldn't die.
Right.
He's like everyone's gonna die, but it's kind of like Prince though. Like it just
crazy.
seems untimely. It was weird when it happened. It was like what, like 4 years ago, maybe
ago,
a few years back. But
I think 2014, 2015 or something around there.
that's what I think. Yeah. And it was odd. I'm like, Prince. So I think Prince, like dead Prince, and then alive Andre. I think Andre just like pops up when he needs to. Like he'll feature on like 2 verses a whole year, and that'll be it. He won't drop a project. He won't drop a whatever. Like he'll just pop in when he needs to. Like,
right.
And the verses are just always great, and he's always pushing the boundaries, man. Like, and his flow is just super. It's like it inspired a lot of my earlier stuff too, but he just inspires me as a human, as a whole person. And I just like how even in the interview he did, he was like super honest with like he'd sit down, he plays the piano, but like can't like make an album, like he can't make tracks, something like that. And I just like, that's super honest for somebody who's put out such classic material, with Outkast, with Big Boy, like. The fact that you're admitting to like, I just can't make a project, like that's super, I don't know, human. It feels human, and a lot of these guys you kind of lose that element with a lot of these people. So, yeah.
Right, I definitely see you taking notes from that too, like not just putting out music to cash a check, but putting out music because you believe in the music and you really fuck with your music and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah. And last but not least, what's next for you, and what do your next 3 to 5 years look like?
Next, man, just pushing It's Not How It Sounds as best as I can, with the resources I have, and trying to push the boundaries and kind of let things ride, and just I got merch dropping soon for it, and I got some some cool like special edition things that's bubbling right now, and ultimately just working on the next project. It doesn't stop. Like the next project it wasn't time for it. It's so good. It's like I wish I could just like show everybody, but that kind of defeats the purpose of working it and making it an album. But the next project is in the works. So when that's ready, it'll be big.
Right.
But definitely pushing this album right now. It's Not How It Sounds. And kind of making people familiar and being more obvious about what I'm about and who I am, because a lot of the times when I talk about my music, we talk about how how I can make the music and how I do it, but it's a lot of the times it's missed what I'm actually saying on these records.
Right.
So kind of just fleshing that out better, and or at least making it more obvious to a lot of people so they could see why I do this, what am I talking about on these records, and what I'm about. So merch, music features, I don't know, man, watching, playing video games, what I mean, streaming on Twitch, and stuff like that. That's kind of, and like the next 3 years to 5 years, my next album will be out in the next 3 for sure. I could say that 100%. The next 3.
Here for it.
Yeah, I'll probably be on another level, man. Who knows? Like, it seems like It's Not How It Sounds is moving. I haven't been on social media in like almost a week, I think.
Damn.
So, like a really long time, just kind of taking a break from it. It gets stressful,
Of course.
It gets, people don't get it. People just think I'm here to like, I'm just gonna make music because I want to make music for you. Like, I want to share it, but it gets stressful. It weighs on you. Social media is like awful place. So I don't even know how it's doing right now. I have no idea. But hopefully people are listening to it, man.
Yeah, of course. Hey, well, guys, you heard it here first. Clairmont The Second. It's Not How It Sounds. Streaming on all platforms. Go run that up. Go get that now. It's crazy. it'll be dropping merch soon. Clairmont, we want to thank you for your time. You're one of the most unique artists that I've interviewed so far. You're just so real, and you have such a real sound and passion for music. So I want to thank you for that, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Of course, man. I'll catch you later. All right.
Come back on La Rue. Chilling with my girl. She love me and she don't love you. And the funny thing about your girl is she love me too.